Hi guys, I drive a little Fiat 500 and one of my headlights is blown, and so I've been on the internet looking at all the different YouTube channels and videos up there to show me how to replace the bulbs on my car, and the more I look, the less I found the actual video that suits my particular headlamp. I rang up the dealership where the car was purchased, brand new, and they've told me that it's the standard headlight and the standard bulbs. I ended up taking a picture of the side of the headlight itself to find the part number. The part number tells me I've got Xenon headlights in my vehicle, which don't match your standard Fiat headlights, and in a minute I'll show you why. And this is really to show you the process that I've found to replace the light bulbs on a Xenon headlight in a Fiat 500. And really it's a warning, if you're buying a Fiat 500 and you're thinking of putting the Xenon headlights in, probably a good idea to look at the process that I've got to replace the light bulbs in my vehicle. And if you are thinking of buying a Fiat 500 with Xenon headlights, probably a cautionable thought to before you purchase, whether or not you want to go through the rigmarole that I go through to change the bulbs in my car. Now, I've worked this out myself. If there is an easier process, I'd love to know it, and I'd love to have someone share with me. I've had people tell me I need to buy certain tools, which I've bought, which still don't seem to do the job. So if there is an easier way, please someone share it so that you can save me a good 90 minutes of work. Okay, well, let's move on to the next stage. So this is the Fiat 500 in question. It's a 2014 Sports. I've already popped the button for the bonnet, so I'll just lift it up. I can find the catch, which is there. Up it goes, and lock it in. Now, in all the videos of these particular headlights, if you look on the back of them, there's a little twisty knob to remove your bulbs, but I don't have one. I've just got these great big black boxes on the back. And what I've done is I've gone onto the forums and said, what do you do? And someone suggested I buy one of these tools here, which is like a sideways screwdriver. And you can pick the screw you need, and then you can just simply go in here and remove the screws. And I can reach this screw and this screw okay, but I can't reach this screw. And then there is another one all the way back below here, which you cannot even see, that I'm supposed to get into. Now, I'll presume if I remove the coolant overflow or the coolant tank, I could probably get to those quite easily. So this light bulb I could probably do. However, this side I have a fuse box, which I'm a little bit hesitant to try and remove to get to 2 screws. So I have another process which takes an awful lot longer, and we'll work our way through that. So the first thing I need to do for this process, believe it or not, is I've got some screws in here, one here, and then another one down here that I need to remove, and then a bolt up in here, which you can't see because the wheel's in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the car, and I'm going to turn the wheels of my car so I can get access to it. And then once I've done that, I've got to do it on the other side. Right, the next stage is I've got a funky little screw in here, just here, that I need to remove. And to do that, I need to use what I call green Allen keys, but they're, I don't know if you can see that. They're like, I think they're called T something or another. So they're not Allen keys as such, but I'm using a T27, which I will now have to insert at the bottom of a screw point here to twist. But unfortunately, what happens is the top bolt in here will sometimes spin. So I've got myself a pair of vice grips, which I'm going to attach onto here, which will then allow me, hang on, can you see that? Attach it in here, which will then allow me to do the unscrewing. Vice grips attached, and now all I've got to do is get the green thing in and start unscrewing. So this is what the culprit looks like. Now that's out, I'll put that with my screws screw over here, and I'll remove my vice grips just in case I need them in the next section. And then I get to turn the steering wheel and do the other side. So the most astute of you will have noticed there's some ramps in front of my vehicle. I don't really need the ramps, but it makes it just that little bit easier. So I'm going to start the car up and I'm going to drive it up on the ramp so I can get to other things simpler. So simpler is a special word that I'm... So the reason I'm on the ramps is I have to undo 4 bolts here and then 3 underneath the ballast. So there'll be 3 here. 1, 2, 3. So let's go about doing that. There's also a heap of screws I've got to undo as well, but we'll start on these first. So let me go get my gear. I'm still with the 27. Now some guys will tell you it's probably a good idea just to make sure there's no rubbish in the heads of these screws, but I'll be honest with you, I had to take this all off 3 days ago just so I could find the part number for the light bulbs and then put it all back together again. It's an absolute nightmare. And then to the screws. There's one each side. This just connects to the inner guard to the wheel fender. There's one here and there's one on the other side. It goes, undo, and then up to the top. So 4 of these. Trying to multitask. 1, 2, 3. Wonderful. Now here comes the part I really don't like doing because it just feels wrong. I've got to remove this whole front bumper. I tried to remove it from the left side first, standing looking at it, but I found if I go from the right side it comes off easier, so I'm going to do that again. Basically you're just going to put your hand here and you're just going to give it some gentle pulls, and it feels so wrong. So there goes the front part of my bumper, and we work our way around to the other side. I'm going to support the grille so it doesn't fall down. Again, I pull this off and then I'm just going to let this drop down. Obviously I need to do something about this because that's broken off as well, which you'll notice it's been done already with some tie wraps on this side, so I'm just going to tie wrap it on this side as well. Okay, I'll do that in a second. Now we get to the lights. These are 10mm sockets which I have got pre-set up in my toolbox, I hope. 1, 2. Nice and simple. Back to normal speed?
Yep.
Right, you'll notice I've put a bucket just here just to take some of the weight off the front bumper because I've left my little fog lights and side lights still connected, and I don't want it pulling on the wires too much. I've now undone all the 3 10mm bolts that need to come undone. This one here is a lot longer than the others, so it takes a bit longer than you need. Now I've got to try and pop this off. So it comes off quite nice in here, but this section here is really difficult. And I found that if I can just push it inwards, and then it should, he says as he fights with it, pop out. There, and then it slides off, and then you have to twist it to get it out. And now I can get to those 4 screws I mentioned before. 1, 2, 3, 4. So back to my screwdriver. Oh, just in case. 1, 2. Now I've only got 1 blown bulb, but for the sake of hassle, I will change both at the same time. What I bought are slightly different strengths, so I just like to keep it balanced, and I'll just keep the good one as an emergency spare just in case. But good luck doing this on the side of the road is all I can say. And again, if someone's got a better way of doing this, please share the link, because I spent hours trying to find a better way. Then I can remove this panel here. I've got a little rubber gasket there to keep it watertight, and this is the bulb that has to come out. Pull that off, put that out of the way. So it took me a minute to work it out, but it's a simple twist, and then pull it out. One offending culprit. Okay, now when I went to the car shop, I asked for a new one of these. They said they're special order. They had them on special at $130 each. Generally they're closer to $200 to $250 per bulb. And then he said, I'm not going to tell you to do this, but look online and you'll find them a better price. I didn't buy the exact same brand. These are Philips, but I bought a brand online. I got 2 bulbs for 40 bucks. So I think it's well worth the gamble, and we'll see how they go. But I'll drop the dead one here and we'll jump to the box. You can fast forward again. So you would have noticed that I tried to put that on the wrong way round, so pay attention to what you're doing. And that's now all on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in the spot, but before I put everything back together again, we'll turn the lights on and make sure they work. So putting it back in is really painful. I have to put it in upside down at these funny angles to get it over to that catch there. And then I have to fight with the windscreen washer bottle to get it all into place, to get that little knob in, and then once that's in, I can put my bolts in. So I am going to put the bolts in, just gently. Wind that bolt. So I'm just going to turn on the lights and make sure it works before I do the other side and put it all back together again. Still not working. You would have seen in the other video when we put this all in, it didn't work. So what I did is I removed this bulb as well, and I put this bulb from this one into this headlight, and that works. So I then took the bulb from this one and put that one in, and that didn't work. So I took the second bulb I got from my box, put that in there, and that does work. So only one of the 2 bulbs that I've bought to the people that provided it to me, and see if they'll send me another one. However, there's a bit of a messing around because now I'm going to have 2 slightly different colour bulbs. I hope that doesn't really affect me on my driving or get me in trouble with anyone in particular, but that's what we're going to do. Now it's just the whole process of putting everything back together, which is the opposite of taking it all apart. So we'll start on the light that I've already, and this one was a real nightmare to get to because the leads are a lot tighter. But we'll put this on, and before I put it on, I'll just make sure that my rubber's all the way in properly, and then I'll hook it all up, grab my screws with my screwdriver. So in the process of trying to put this light back into its situation, there's a little tooth at the bottom of this that needs to go in this little hole. I have had 2 helpers holding the camera for me on time lapse, and they've both now given up on me. So I'm gonna have to turn the camera off and just manhandle this into place. But I've got to be careful because look, I'm scratching my lens on the edge of my quarter here. So I've just got to watch what I'm doing. It's a real pain. So I'll turn this off and hopefully I'll turn you back on once it's done. Done. I have no idea how I did it. I just had to keep jiggling and jiggling until it went in. I have scratched the bulb or the lens a little bit here, but let's get back to putting it all back together again. Now it's just time to put the screws back in on the wheel guards, and we're all done. Right, so that's me done. Not fun. They say that these Xenon lights should last about 10 years. They're a lot brighter, and that's probably true. But I know for a fact that I'm gonna have to replace another one of these bulbs pretty soon, and it takes me about an hour and a half, depending on how much grief this car wants to give me. So if you're going for Xenon, good for you, but just be wary unless there's a better way. And if there is, again, share me the link. Thank you. Cheers. Have a good day.